Wasabi guys, coming back at you with another top 10 video. This time we're going to do something different here. Instead of talking about Commander necessarily, we're going to go towards the direction of talking about Cube. And we're going to start it off here with the top 10 white cards in Cube. Now this is even more subjective than the Commander videos because you can really just make your Cube however the hell you want to make it. This is just my preference. These are cards that I would definitely put in a cube if I were to make one. Other people put these in their cubes, and I've sort of come to the conclusion these are pretty good cards. So number 10, we have Maru, Hound of Khanda. He's a legendary creature, but the only reason why he's legendary is because, you know, you can't have more than one of them, because that would be pretty good if you had multiple 2/2s for one. One of the better turn 1 plays in these colors. It's just so awesome. There's so much good equipment and cubes that you can put, and just early game, just start wrecking face with this dude. I mean, look how hungry he is. The guy clearly wants to just tear your ass wide open. Number 9, Lingering Souls. 3 mana, you get 2 1/1 flyers, and you can flash it back for just 2 mana and get 2 1/1 flyers. So total that's 5 mana for 4 1/1 flyers. That is really good, and that on average, I mean, to get 4 flyers in this format is very good. You're talking about more or less a similar environment to Limited, where just good value creatures with good keywords tend to survive. Well, if you can have a ton of tokens with good keywords like flying, why the hell not? Definitely one of the benefits of white in this format is just going wide and being aggressive and having multiple token producers and white. So good, and it's what makes white a very good color in Cube. Then we have Bane Slayer Angel, just an absolutely just all-around all-star. Usually this is what you want to top your curve out with, your bigger creatures. I mean, the fact that you have like a first strike here with lifelink and has protection from demons and dragons, which is kind of a plus. I mean, those are 2 creature types that, you know, tend to have flying, so it's a benefit there when you can have protection. Typically you're just going to be, you know, every turn gaining 5 life, and that first strike is a deterrent for people wanting to block, so you just have a massive, just a beater here that's most likely going to win you games, and if left alone it will win you the game. They have to remove it, they have to deal with it, so it's just that devastating to just leave it alone. Number 7, Elspeth, Sun's Champion. Really the best white planeswalker in my opinion, especially when you talk about more of a limited environment. 3 1/1 soldiers or plus is just absolutely ridiculous. She has 6 mana, so she's typically going to be towards the top of your curve, if not the absolute top of it. Her minus is awesome. Destroy all creatures power 4 or greater. That right there is amazing removal. It's most likely going to set yourself up to go wide and win the game when you have that type of removal on a planeswalker. And her ult is basically win con. So all the tokens that you make with her, they get +2/+2 and gain flying. That's ridiculous. She was an absolute powerhouse in Standard during the time, and she's an absolute powerhouse if you get her out in Cube. She's just that good. Number 6, I have Monastry Mentor. Now this guy is currently in one of the best decks in Vintage right now, and for good reason. Just an absolute powerhouse. Put any instant and sorceries that you want, just fill your deck with good instants and sorceries, and suddenly you have an engine here. Making 1/1 tokens with prowess, so each time you cast an instant or sorcery, fill your deck with cantrips and counterspells. Who knows, you're going to just get a huge army here, and they all can get really big too. So not only are you going wide, but you're going big by playing all these awesome instants and sorceries. And Monastry Mentor only costing 3 mana, and he has prowess himself. That's just absolutely unbelievable. You know, with prowess, one of the better abilities to be printed in the last few years. Just so good. Number 5, Mother of Runes. She is a pain in the ass to deal with. She gives your creatures protection from any color, which is why it's so important to put in, you know, balanced removal such as colorless removal, because Mother of Runes is just a powerhouse. She's a great blocker, can make herself pretty much give her protection from any sort of color you want to and block with her, or you can look at something like Bane Slayer Angel and just give it protection from removal and other blockers. So you have something that's just going to help you out in terms of combat. It's going to help you out in terms of staying alive. She's most likely one of those creatures that's going to stay on the board for the entirety of the game if you drop her on turn 1, just because there's a lot of good removal that you can put in cube. However, I feel that people are going to eventually give up trying to get rid of her, or they're going to have to end up doubling up on removal spells. You'll find that most people are going to have to double up on instant speed removal just to get rid of her. Giving anything protection in this type of environment is so powerful. Easily one of the best 1-drops in cube that you can put in there. Number 4, we have land tax. One of the biggest frustrations whenever you have to draft and make your own 40-card deck is finding the right balance of lands, because not all the time are you going to know exactly how well your deck's going to run. Are you going to need 13 lands? Or are you going to need 17 lands? Like, who knows? With white, typically white doesn't have the very best card draw. If you can guarantee yourself that you're not going to be playing too many lands in your deck, you're almost always going to have a situation where you end up searching for 3 lands and you put them into your hand. It's just absolutely just a great card advantage card, and it puts you in a position where you can suddenly catch up or get ahead, because eventually your opponents are not always going to get their land drops. So if you have multiple lands in your hand, you can guarantee yourself land drops in this format. You should do it. And land tax is definitely one of those cards that you know why it's in here. 3 and number 2 are pretty much neck and neck here. I feel the difference is it's very little. Number 3 is Path to Exile, and number 2 is Swords to Plowshares. Swords to Plowshares is it's a better card. Giving someone life for exiling a creature, it's always going to be better than giving them a land drop. For the reasons that I said, land tax is a good card. You don't necessarily want to play Path to Exile over Swords to Plowshares, but it's still good removal regardless. You're going to play both of these if you're in a position to draft both of these, unless there's something that's just insanely better, which is rare to happen. You're most likely going to end up drafting both of these if you have the chance. With Path to Exile, yeah, it comes into play tap, but getting a land is always a good thing in cube drafts. And when you have a 40-card deck and you're not playing that many lands, it's definitely going to help your opponent out more to have the land drop. And life gain is iffy in this format. You don't want to give them too much life, but it's easy to say that you're winning if you have the mana and you have the consistency in your deck, versus, oh, I have more life and I can last another turn maybe. I mean, it can kind of be subjective, but it comes down to how can your opponent win? Can they win by having more life, or can they win by having more land? Most of the time it's going to be more land, but again, it's very subjective. I just give Swords to Plowshares the edge just because giving someone more life doesn't help them to win that much. Which leads us to the number 1 choice here, and it's pretty obvious. If you had to choose like the most insanely powerful white card and put it in this deck, or any deck you construct out of a cube draft, number 1, balance. Just insane. 2 mana, you come back from behind and you level the playing field. This card was intended to be fair and sort of level the playing field and give someone who may not have the best card advantage, because again, this is white we're talking about. White doesn't always recover that well. So yeah, basically equalizing the number of lands, cards in hand, and creatures. You would think that would be a pretty fair deal right there. However, you can play more than one color, and that's why balance is on this list. You can take advantage of this, just abuse it. You're just going to fucking murder them. I mean, think of all the strategies that are constructed here and in the cube format, where you have so many aggressive decks that try to get out 1-drops, 2-drops as quickly as they possibly can. You have aggressive red strategies and aggressive white strategies as well. Basically not playing any creatures, playing minimal lands, and trying to play non-creature, non-land cards. You can basically guarantee that you're going to be ahead for the rest of the game if you play this card. There's so many decks that, oh, your opponents have like 4 creatures out on like turn 3. Guess what? They're all gone. If you play it right, you shouldn't have any creatures, and they end up losing everything. And they're left with the minimal amount of lands. Definitely a very abused card, and in this format, I wouldn't say it's the best card, but it's definitely one of the better ones that you can play. Of course, we're not touching on Power 9 yet, but most cubes aren't Power 9 because, you have to be able to afford the shit in the first place. So anyway, guys, let me know if you like this top 10 list. Let me know if you want to see more cube videos or anything like that. Yeah, I'll try to do more of these. I'll definitely continue doing Commander top 10s. This was just a little something I'm doing on the side here. So anyway, thanks for watching. Boy Mage Gamer, signing off here. Hope you guys have a wonderful day.